We're at 24 2 Mile Hollow Road in East Hampton. It is a 7-bed, 9-bath, 8,000 square foot home. Beautiful pool, beautiful tennis court, only 400 meters from the beach, listed for $19,995,000. And we have the pleasure of touring this property and meeting the listing broker, Matthew Breitenbach, here with us today from the Matthew Breitenbach Advisory Team, who's going to tell us all about this amazing area, this one-of-a-kind property, and a little bit more about himself and his real estate company. So come on in. Matt, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, welcome.
Thank you. So it's beautiful.
Yes.
I've never been here before, so tell us a little bit about the property, the location, and some of the history.
Well, welcome to 24 2 Mile Hollow. We are south of Further Lane. Further Lane is one of the most premier streets in the world.
Yeah.
Top 5, arguably top 10. Amazing, big hitters all around you. Super prime real estate in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
So you got 2 acres, you're 400 yards from the ocean.
Yeah.
You can hear the ocean if you really turn your ear to it right now. You can definitely hear it from the front. Amazing property built by Jeffrey Colle. If someone's not familiar with Jeffrey Colle, he's one of the premier Hamptons builders. He built Alec Baldwin's house, big celebrity, works with a lot of big people, and he's fantastic. So it's an 8,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
Very English country, old world Hamptons. Has that wing gambrel feeling, cedar shake, just very Hamptons-like. Hydrangeas are a staple out here, built-in grill. And then you just have a compound. You have a gated compound that's set back on the hill. Hot tub, spa. You have a big, elongated pool here, and you got the tennis court in the back.
Well, you come out here to enjoy vacation time with your
Yeah.
family and all that stuff, and the amenities and everything that this area presents is huge.
Yes.
Being 400 meters from the ocean is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Let me see this, because it is 1,000 degrees and I am in this jacket. You are way more comfortable. Let's look at the water.
I should have gave you the Hamptons uniform,
Yes, so when you come, there's a Hamptons uniform.
This is an amazing area. It's quiet, but you're close to the ocean. You have some major numbers around you. Just off Further Lane alone, this year, there's been 2 $60 million trades on the ocean. Just on the ocean, down at the end of the street to the left, just a few years ago, traded for $56 million. So you can kind of see some of the numbers in this area Further Lane.
Right.
So it's a very special spot.
No, those numbers are insane, especially, and a lot of that stuff also too, you have super high land value purchases.
Yes.
And have you seen, because of COVID and stuff like that, the prices have gone up even more and a rush of people kind of buying, like in our market?
Yeah, well, the Hamptons you've seen, the Hamptons is, I grew up in the Hamptons and I've watched it evolve from a resort town to a country town.
Right.
So it used to be this kind of summer beach town, but it's coming to this kind of year-round country town, especially for the New York tri-state area. So, during COVID, I would say COVID was an accelerator of a growing trend, which was that trend of the Hamptons as this year-round community, especially for New Yorkers, right? So, what COVID did though is it made a lot of new Hamptons buyers when people are out here in March and they're like, wow, this is pretty nice. Like people, even with some of the year-round community, they hadn't spent the full week in March. Maybe they spent the weekend, but they're like, wow, now I'm out here continually. This is not freaking me out. This is pretty cool. And it's been an amazing run of volume, and there's been high demand in volume, but prices are up like 5-10%, but volume at times has been up 200%, 50%. So it's been more about demand and volume, and than anything else.
So the way it's always, in my perception, because I'm Lower Fairfield County, I'm Connecticut in that area, the perception was always the Hamptons were the vacation spot, the getaway spot. Are you seeing an increase in people who are here more full-time?
Yeah.
And is East Hampton in this area, especially like a house like this, does it have all the amenities of the great school systems and everything that would, I'm sure it does. Yeah. But are you seeing more of that?
Yeah, no, Hamptons has become, like I said, it's become a year-round spot, because I think that the benefit of the Hamptons over maybe another New York State tri-state area, it's basically become a suburb of New York. Right. And what drives the Hamptons, I think, onto another plane is that someone may not need 2 country homes. That they need, that now that I have a beach house, but it's also like my year-round house at the same time. Or a New Yorker may not because of the ocean. So the ocean has always been the X factor in the Hamptons and the beaches and what that offers. But, the schools are strong. There's a decent private school, out here. And I think, people just love the lifestyle. Actually, I've had people, the manager of Compass in the Hamptons, Joe Fear, he moved here and his kids loved it more than his kids are obsessed with it from what I heard. They just love the lifestyle. There's some really great, sports. We always have great baseball programs out here. you know, kids grow up in this kind of beach lifestyle. They learn to sail, they play tennis, like they golf. Like there's like, it's a pretty amazing place in a lot of ways once you kind of dig into the region, and it becomes much more of, you know, it's just a lifestyle. The Hamptons has shifted from that society buy, like I need the Hamptons house, to like, let me get the, like, I'm here for the lifestyle. The
lifestyle and the exclusivity of what this area and the Hamptons brings seems like what it's all about.
During COVID, you wouldn't even know that COVID existed. As you were in here. I mean, except for masks. Like you wouldn't even know COVID was going on. It was like La La Land. And it's very similar to like Aspen, the growth of Aspen, right? People, it's like, I love Aspen. I'm like engaged in Aspen. Like I compare, like this is like Aspen by the beach is you know, Hamptons in the mountains is Aspen. It's very similar to kind of like why you're seeing both of those regions. People relocate there. It just has this, it's this country lifestyle. And I feel like you've seen a growth of newer money come in, right? You have this like late 30s to late 40 buyer now dominating the landscape, probably by you guys too. And I think in the Hamptons, you know, they live differently, they talk differently, they interact differently, and they look at real estate more lifestyle than society, right? Like I don't like, and I know because my kids go to school here and they're younger, so like I just meet like people that are not leaving, you know, they're here. And even with COVID kind of where we're going and this, you know, vaccine and things starting to kind of even in a lot of ways, like, you know, there's a couple people going back, but you know, majority are like, they love it. They love the lifestyle.
That's the biggest thing is people are starting to realize the lifestyle shifts from the big city to going from temporary vacations to full-time vacations, and things are changing. Priorities are changing for different families, different generations.
You see a lot of people go in and out. I think what's shifted a lot too is like the city used to be primary, Hamptons was secondary, or like the country area, and now that Hamptons has become a primary for a lot of people, and that they're staying here, and then they're going in and out of the city. You know, and they don't like, they stay there for a few days, but they're just like itching to get back here. Or like the husband's going in and back or work, or wife, vice, whatever it is, right? So you're seeing a lot of that. Like I have a good broker friend of mine who works at Compass. He does 300+ million a year in the city, and he's like trying to figure out a way to keep his team in the city. He wants to work out here. He wants to partner with me, and I'm like, whoa! Like it's like, I'm getting these opportunities, and it's exciting. Like I grew up in the Hamptons, and I chose to live and work here at 22 years old when all my friends thought I was crazy. And this is 2006. Hamptons is much different. The world is much different. But I've watched like this Hamptons lifestyle just become. But people love it the way I loved it. Like I was drawn back here. I grew up here. I was addicted to the lifestyle here.
So as a past swimmer, swim coach, collegiate, and somebody who's a lover of pools.
What do you rate this? We got it like 8, 9, 10?
This is 8, 9, 10, right? All in. All right, of course. So what do we got here as far as amenities, as far as the pool? The location, we already know, 20 million, you could, just for the location. It's exclusive lifestyle, beach right there. What do we got going on in the backyard?
So you got a hot tub spa here, single and separate, which is nice. What's nice about this is that like people in the Hamptons love this because you can run this in November. You know, it's separate from the pool. So you can close your pool, you can be hanging out here, you know, Christmas Day. You know, have an eggnog and the thing steaming up and be great. So then you got a, you know, heated gunite pool here.
Automatic pool cover, I see.
Automatic pool cover.
That's a must.
You can see the great grounds here. It's all about privacy in the Hamptons. That's why celebrities love the Hamptons, is no one bothers them. Celebrity residents, you know, like there's no paparazzi. But also a lot of these homes, you can see privacy is a big thing here. You know, don't want to see anybody. You want to be seen, but not seen at the same time. So you're very much kind of sheltered back here by a lot of
the high-end clientele, the exclusivity, the celebrity clients that you meet and have worked with, having this lush landscaping around here is an absolute must.
I think the Hamptons has become a place to relax, you know, like they come out here. It used to be, when I grew up here, it was a party town. It was like about going out and the restaurants, and now it's about entertaining at home. You know, you get the built-in grill out here, hanging out, friends and family coming over. It's become more of that kind of vibe around here.
What I think of when I say exclusive Hamptons home, this is what I think of.
The architecture itself is very Hamptons. So we have a har-tru tennis court, which is the preferable surface in the Hamptons.
Har-tru?
As long, you know, lasts longer, easier to upkeep, and it's just a great surface, as you can see here. So, you know, tennis is big in the Hamptons. There's guys that don't even play like tennis, but want the tennis. It just adds, you're probably seeing like a 15 to 20% in value just from having a tennis court.
So the tennis court can up the value of the product by 15 to 20%?
Yes.
Wow, that's
great. You know, we just sold another property in Southampton Village, comps of 1 acre properties on the street, trading for $5 million, new construction. We just sold a house that's 2 years old, very new, feels new construction, with tennis for $8 million.
Really?
Just on the same street.
Court. When you buy a house in the Hamptons for $20 million like this, whether it's a brand new construction or needs a reno, but this close to the water and this to the bells and whistles, something like this, do most people who buy this all have it weekly serviced? There's a company that comes out here locally and they're taking care of your tennis courts.
Yeah, one thing on my team that we try to do, and we're in the process of kind of building almost like a concierge division, and then utilizing our vendors. And like I have a couple high-end guys that are like really great teams, and they'll run. Like I have a guy that I really like who runs a company that I really like to refer, who basically is a one-stop person for my clients. That, and I've given them to celebrities, to ultra high net worth people, that he can just call, and it's he'll call the electrician, he'll call this guy, he'll call that, or he'll organize everything for people, because it's a lot managing a home. And sometimes if, say, someone's coming from a New York City or something, never managed, which you probably deal with in your area too, like if you've never managed a home, multiple vendors, multiple things, it's like a lot going on. Like
even doing the tours, I said the first thing they come from New York City, I'm like, do you have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Do you have, these are high net worth people. Do you have a driver's license? Do you need a driver? No, you don't have a driver's license, then you need a driver. Okay, I got to set up the driver and have you come up. Sure.
Yeah, so we do a lot of that, and we're in the process of kind of trying to really, we're obsessed about, I always say, like in real estate, before, during, and after the transaction, right? And I think a lot of people are fighting about before the transaction, which is like Zillow and all the other brokerages are getting that buyer, that lead, right? And then during, that's like the brokers are very like transactional, right? And then like there's not many people focusing after the transaction. So for our team, like really, like we want to have a curated end-to-end experience before, during, and after, and we don't forget about after. So after, like we're there for people. Like we sold, I can't tell them your name, but I sold a big house to a celebrity in Montauk for $10 million, right? But we've been like helping them out. Like the guy on my team, has some connections, used to work at, some restaurants out there. So we've like been hooking this guy up. So we're trying to stay in contact with our clients after the fact, and then also get them the right vendors to help that, have a nice experience.
People don't understand is when you're selling high-end stuff and you're working with that level, there is a lot of concierge that goes into this, because they're buying very exclusive, very expensive products that require a lot of maintenance that they might not have time for. So what sets the people or certain agents apart from other agents is what we're able to offer, like you just said perfectly, after, so that they said, man, they were with me for the entire transaction, but also, anything that I needed, even post-transactionally, questions everything. We did the same thing with the concierge.
Yeah, we want to build that evangelist kind of client that's like, wow, like they were really like on top of it, and really we're really kind of obsessed about all portions of that game. It's like playing sports, offense, defense, special teams, and football, right? Like it's like we want to have before, during, and after. Really want to be like operating at a high level on all three of them. But some of my clients too. Like I had one of the most wealthiest clients I've dealt with too. He didn't have a nanny or anybody. Like he was very private, like very much a hands-on father, family guy. I never saw him with a nanny. So like some people are different though too. It's just, but you give them that option. What do you want? What can I do? How can I serve you? And then I have some clients, it's like, they've had one kid and they have 2 baby nurses, and they're like, it's like you come in, there's like a whole staff of people.
It's one bedroom for them and au pairs the rest of the room.
It's like, and I'm like, can I borrow one? But it's like, they have, I have another guy that's got, you come in, there's like, we joke, there's like always like 3 housekeepers like ripping around, like you touch something, it's, and so it's, different clients are different ways. You just gotta, kind of let them, some ultra high net worth people are more private too, so it depends.
We can't emphasize that enough, how much the location plays into the price point and everything for this house. The house is beautiful in itself. What's the difference between your Southampton, Sag Harbor, East Hampton, the specific northwest, east, south areas of the Hamptons itself, and price points?
So yeah, they're all different. The beautiful thing about the Hamptons is that they're, all these towns have different feelings, and they're like all, have different types of clientele in certain ways. We were talking about before, East Hampton people are like kind of East Hampton people. They're like, because East Hampton is, once you're here, you're kind of here. You have people more Bridgehampton, Watermill. They kind of like the central aspect of that, where you can kind of get in either direction. Southampton is also different, but there's also different types of property, right? You have like a Sag Harbor, which is like a big boating community, and smaller properties. It's an old whaling village, so it feels like Nantucket-like, more about that village downtown feel, you know, Bridgehampton's more about the potato fields and the farms and more of that kind of farm feel. A lot of big equestrian community, ton of horse farms, you know. So, you know, each of the Hamptons has their own kind of per se, and it's funny like how topography changes in each town. Right. Like it's kind of like certain, and it affects value. Like I show a lot of ocean fronts, right? And like in the Hamptons, there's two different types of ocean front. There's a single dune, and then there's a double dune. You know, there's a single dune, which is more of that Malibu style where you're right on the dune.
Yeah.
And then there's like further lane where we're at, like in this area, like these ocean fronts are more of that double dune, which are more back, but you also have these bigger lots. So you have these bigger oceanfront estates, but you're not like, you don't feel like you're more on that boat.
Do you find that, is there one that commands price point differences versus the other? Not even location, but style. Obviously we know like direct waterfront probably the most.
I think this East Hampton area reminds me a little bit of like the Southampton estate section, which is like if you're coming into town, you know, I don't know how familiar you are with that, the Hill Street that comes into Southampton, but everything down to the ocean there is like that estate section, you know, big hedges, very Gatsby-like, just like big estates and, you know, old Hamptons, you know, and then, you know, you have here, you know, which I would, this area further lane I would consider, you know, kind of like a brother sister to that area in regards to the way the properties are, the style, more traditional, you know, but there is an influx of modern, you know, so it's, that's kind of how the different towns lay out.
Gotcha.
But Amagansett and Montauk are really cool too, and Amagansett and Montauk are east of here, and they've grown too, and they're like Amagansett I call like are the Malibu of the Hamptons, in a true sense, because it's got that really coul beach vibe. You know, but the Hamptons in a lot of ways has become less casual. It's become more, you know, the wealth is here, but you know, you still have like, you know, I don't want to downplay the guys that drive Ferraris, but it's become more about like the restored Bronco or like the restored, you know, the old Range Rover that's like kind of that cool, more beach vibe. More casual vibe.
What do you think that's due to?
Money. It's just the newer money, and I think they're less showy, you know, in a way. I think
Money's
they are showy, but they're also like, it's different. It's like I said, it's like to society and lifestyle.
If you watch the trends of money and the buying habits and what they're wearing, what they're driving, what they're buying or building, I mean, even in our area in Greenwich, the big houses in backcountry were like the big, huge houses with 20 acres, and they had gold-plated everything, and it was way over the top, and nobody really wanted to buy them because a lot of people said that's just too much. And it's like money's kind of gone to more functionality and purpose.
It's true.
And instead of the show off. So Matt, I want to take a minute and talk a little bit about you, your company, and kind of your business, which has been just absolutely phenomenal for a long time, but recently is just getting so red hot.
Thank you.
So talk to me a little bit about Matt Breitenbach and the company.
Yeah, you know, so I grew up a son of a real estate agent, you know, so I grew up around the business. My dad was a builder, so I always like was in the front seat, you know. I hate my dad picking me up. I gotta go check on this job on the way home. It's like, oh, you know, it's just era before cell phones too, you know. So as a kid, you're just sitting there, and my mom too. I gotta go lock up this house or whatever. So I just kind of grew up around the business, and it was always.
Your mom was in real estate as well?
Yeah.
Locally?
Yeah, locally. Still is. And so you know, I never thought I'd end up in this business, to be honest with you, but I think my senior year in college, I decided, like, you know what, I had connections in it, and I always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and I knew that I always wanted to start companies, in multiple companies, or I had to like build assets and buy assets, and I was like, if I looked at the world, I was like, I need somewhere to get that capital to go do that. You know, what happened is I started working for my mom as her assistant. I started falling in love with the business, and started realizing that I could, you know, the entrepreneurial spirit of the business itself. So I worked for my mom for like 6 years, 7 years. And a lot of people thought I was nuts, and I thought, you know what, like, I just felt like I had reached my end of my capacity to grow.
How old were you when you started working for your mom?
22.
So you finished, did you go to school?
Yeah, I went to college.
Where'd you go?
Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. 4 years, and then came back home and took a summer off, and then got my license and started January 2006. It was a different market, sold a house in like 2 weeks for like $3 million. I joke, I was 22, I bought an X5 and I spent the rest on tequila, and that was it. And I was broke again. And I was like, okay, this is the real estate broker life. I'm like, boom, and then I'm in the dust.
Yeah,
right?
there you
so
go.
that I realized that that's kind of a normal thing to happen. So
that might also just be like extreme because it's like the Hamptons broker life.
Yeah, that's true. It is. Tequila and rosé are big out here, so we got those things going. If they cut that off, like,
you'd be fine.
The Hamptons would have a...
You might just be Greenwich then.
Yeah. So, you know, I worked with my mom 6-7 years. I helped. My mom always my mom was the #1 broker when I started working for her. She always said, Matt, you didn't make me #1, but you kept me #1. Like, I helped really institute a lot of, you know, systems into her. I started going to conferences. I really started learning about the business on different than even sales, like the back end of things. And, you know, I did a lot of her marketing. We did, you know, we had a lot of fun together. We're #1 team at Corcoran. We were doing like 250 million a year. So when I decided to leave and do my own thing, a lot of people were like, you're crazy. And, you know, what are you doing? You got this gig. But I just had this itch that I wanted to go build something on my own. And, you know, I went to Douglas Elliman for 3 years. And
your mom was at Corcoran?
At Corcoran. I realized that I couldn't really brand myself at Corcoran, you know, with her there at the same time. She was just too big.
How did she take that when you?
She was great, and I mean, it was like the hard part about working with and family businesses. I have, you know, are not easy, you know, like and anyone that says they are, they're not telling the truth. You know, oh, it's amazing. You know, it's like no, there's some challenges there, and my mom was amazing with it. Like I think our challenge was that like I was getting married at the time, and I kind of lost my mom. Like I just wanted a mother, like, and I had a business partner,
right?
And it becomes like a little, you know, different. And I think my mother, like, she built her business from nothing. She's incredible. I say she's the best broker I've ever met. She is insanely good. She's amazing, right? So like, she had pride in her business she built. And I also was like, you know what? I don't want to like force you to change if you don't. You want to go run your own game and do your own thing. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to run uphill. You want to do your thing, do your thing. I just have this calling that I feel like I need to do. And you know, at the time, my wife was very good at kind of pulling that out of me and giving me the confidence. And I was scared. I was really scared. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of naysayers, a lot of stuff in your brain telling you you're not going to be able to do this or, you know, maybe the people are right. Because a lot of people thought, all right, Matt's just, you know, his mom's, like, she gives him everything and he never has to work and for things or whatever. Like, they always had this impression. I kind of wanted to prove everybody wrong. Yeah. And I still kind of carry that chip in a degree. Like, I want to, it's not as up top of a fire, but it's still in there that I want to like just kind of build and do my own thing. So, you know, I went to Elliman for 3 years. They were starting a sports entertainment division. I had worked with celebrity clients, and they had, you know, knew that, so they wanted me to do it. And, you know, it was a good experience for me. Like I grew, but I also like went through a lot of challenges. And I started a team in 2016. I knew I had to kind of keep growing and scaling. You know, I was like the number, you know, 2 broker in Elliman the first year I was there, and then I was a top 5 team from there. I started a team, but I was like going some of the most challenging. I had my first daughter in 16, so like I had a new kid, and it was some really challenging years for me, but really good growing years in regards to like just going through these seasons in my life. And you know, when I met the guys from Compass, I was like, you know, I always joke I have like a PhD in real estate and real estate agents because I was like raised by one. Right. I've been doing it since I was 22. It's a family business, yeah. And I've been doing it since I was 22, and I feel like I've just been around brokers my whole life. Like, and you know, I've been around the business since I never had another career. Like, this is all I've done. I've just lived and breathed this business. Like, I didn't go to my college reunion. I worked 7 days a week, you know. So, you know, I met the guys from Compass. Like, I was like, I've been waiting for this company, you know. To me, it was like a platform. It was like a Ferrari pulling up, and they're like, all right, do you want to drive this? And I'm like, yeah, please. You know, there's the keys, you know, like. It was, you know, and I had this great talk with Matt Spangler about marketing and branding, and it was like, that was really, you know, that actually really grabbed me, the marketing aspect of it. Yeah. Because I'm a big marketer. It's always been part of my thing. And I think the technology was really amazing and intriguing, and that was really cool. The culture and the marketing were like so cool to me because I grew up in these, I was coming from 2 brokerages that were very, you know, people much different, like not collaborative, very kind of, you know, kill or be killed and different. And the vibe and the youth of Compass and the energy of it was like just really intoxicating. And it wasn't easy for me. I drove my wife crazy. I think I like was up till 3 o'clock in the morning, like writing all this stuff down about like pros and cons.
You did the pros and cons too.
Oh yeah. I'm like, I'm looking up, I'm Googling like how you make a decision that's really tough. I'm like praying to God. I'm like, give me the answer. Like, you know, like I don't know what to do. And like, I ended up, you know, I made the jump, you know. I never just, you know, I was driving them crazy. I kept telling them, like, I'm going to come. And then they're like, man, I got the whole PR team going. What's going on? I'm like, oh, no. You know, I would go sit in my office, like, you know, like the SGM team, you know, call me like, you're sitting in your office, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, I'm just staring at the wall. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I was in fear. You know, I didn't know what to do. And I ended up, you know, I ended up taking the jump, though, and it was the best business decision. Yeah. You know, for me, and it was really huge for me. And ever since, I've been up like 25% a year. And this year has just been phenomenal, and you know, brought in a new coach, Rog, you know, and he's been amazing. And we've been, you know, just continue to grow, you know. But I still hear my mom in the back of my head, like, all the time. I tell people that all the time. I still hear little things she taught me, you know. So, you know, it's been a really fun journey so far. But this year's, I mean, we're at like, we just hit 200 million in sales halfway through the year.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
It's been great. You know, I think we're really starting to like kind of hit our stride. And
what I loved about, you know, just doing some research on you and is your marketing. Your properties, the way you market your properties, even if the property isn't a brand new construction, which everybody loves to look at and market brand new constructions, who wouldn't, right? Yeah. But sometimes you have a home that needs a little TLC, but has everything else going for it. I love how you take that and you market it in a new way. So visually it brings out what it is, not what it isn't. Yeah. I love that in some of your work. Yeah. How much of a hand in the day-to-day marketing are you in, and is that something that you really enjoy? Yeah, no, I do. I always, you know, we were talking about this before, like I love branding and marketing. It's like at some point I think I'm working, you know, with my art director now on my team to, at some point I think we kind of want to build a little division in there that just kind of handles marketing. I mean, it's big. I kind of run the brand, like the marketing, and you know, I have, you know, executive assistant, more of chief of staff, who kind of runs the projects. Yeah. The kind of that grind of the project. Right. Like I'll come up with the concept and the idea, or this is the campaign, and then they're kind of the executors of it. Have a really great, who you met too, Zach, who's my art director, just a great videographer, you know, and we're doing a ton of digital media, trying to really focus on digital media. But I love marketing. Like I can get lost in it, I have to be careful. So, you know, I try to make sure I have my sales block every day for the majority of my day. That's my one thing I need to be doing, is just driving revenue for this business right now. But, you know, I spend a good amount of time just on the marketing side of things. The CEO, we have to always be driving the next client, driving revenue, figuring out where that stuff goes. But you know, even for me, like when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a movie director. Yeah. So when I get those brand new stills of the photography that comes in, there's nothing more exciting than open up the Dropbox and here I got 160 beautiful photos to go through, or coming up with the storyboard of the video beforehand. That's the creative side of what we do, because we spend so much time Number one, there's so much, you know, research that we have to do, so much sales that we have to do, so much people business back and forth stuff that we have to do. But then when we get to just have our own mental, creative time, that's so much fun. Yeah, I think I love the way you think, because I think very similar. I love just getting I love getting a new property. Like we sold some really cool stuff in Sag Harbor, and these old captain's houses. Yeah. And it's like, all right, this is Captain Cartwright house from like, you know, 1897, right? And it's like, all right, let's tell that story, you know, and like let's tell the story of this home, and how do we sold the Lanford Wilson house in Sag Harbor too. It was a very old historic home. Big NBA player bought it, which was cool. You wouldn't match it, but he went to Duke and he was a history major. Yeah. You know, so, you know, he bought this house. But it's like, how do you tell that story? You know, and I don't think, that's what I was telling you. Like I was always a creative person. You know, I was an English major in college. You know, I wish I would have took some business classes now, and that's why, you know, it's been a lot of big learning curve for me in that. But that creativity is so much there, and I think the best brokers and broker brands are really good that have that kind of, you know, that creativity to them to look at things, and entrepreneurs in general. Yeah. So you grew up in this business. This is always intriguing to me. Yeah. And I think people who are going to watch this maybe might have the same kind of question. Yeah. There's a lot of $1 million listing LA, Miami. Now they have the whole one for the Hamptons and everything. Yeah. All right. Houses are very expensive. Yeah. The lifestyle can be very fast. Yeah. It's exclusive. There's a lot of money. Growing up in this business around a lot of money, how is that, as a young entrepreneur like yourself, how has that been around other young entrepreneurs? Because I always think it's interesting and intriguing, and to like understand how that world works. It's like I think the number one thing, I think I think as an entrepreneur, what you need to realize is, like, you know, I think Elon Musk said it best. I think he did a thing on Clubhouse, and they're like, you know, what kind of like words of affirmation do you have for our entrepreneurs? And he's like, if you need words of affirmation, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, right? Like it's like you need, like it's like there's grit and grind, and I think there's like, all right, you see, you know, in the media culture, even no matter if you live in the Hamptons or not, like, or live wherever or not, like you see the wealth, you see these influencers, you see the Ferraris, you see the stuff, and it's like, all right, you don't see the seven day a week, they don't see what you have to do for hour weeks, right? Like even for me, and I use that as motivation, you know, like I love The Last Dance of Michael Jordan. Like I love like trying to find things to give me motivation, you know. But like I used to love people like, oh, Matt just gives it. They don't know that I was in the office. Like,
That's how I first met my first assistant. The only place that served dinner in the Hamptons at 10 o'clock at night was World Pie. It's a good tidbit for anyone out there. If you need a late dinner in the Hamptons, World Pie and Bridge Hamptons, the only place that serves late, like during the week. So I'd be in the office, I went out on my own till 9 o'clock at night, I'd be in there grinding away. Yeah. So it's like that for entrepreneurs, I think it's that, like having that fire, that passion, that grit, that grind to kind of get something. But you got to kind of like, you're gonna have to want to get uncomfortable. You got to be, comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right, exactly.
And pushing yourself and growing and learning and just going and going. And like, it's hard. Like, like my wife's a blessing. Like she has to calm me down. Like she always jokes it takes me 4 days to go on vacation because it takes me like, I got to unwind myself. Right. But, it's, you got to have that motor. That just going at a full clip. Right. And you can't, like speed in sports, sometimes you just can't create that. You just kind of have it. Yeah.
And then they don't, people don't see the disappointments that come sometime in the business. Like you have a lot of big deals and you have a lot of great stuff, but you also have your disappointments. So being able to take the losses sometimes while you're juggling all the other balls in the air that you're trying to win on is not always easy. And especially with high-end clientele, there's a way and an expectation. There's a reason why you've been so successful is because people refer you, because you're not a pushy salesperson. Yes. You can't make people make these decisions. Yes. You have to be the consultant and the advisor. Yeah. This is a totally different type of clientele.
Yeah, no, I would. I think, people, I think the newer money too is more like this too. I think like you can't broker a lot of them, or like there's nothing worse, I always say too, than like an over salesy real estate agent, right? Like, and just in general, I think that's just been my general knowledge, like happened in my PhD in brokers again, right? Like I think like it's not attractive to people, and that's one thing that drew me to Compass too. Like they're trying to elevate the industry, and we use that word a lot on my team. Like we're trying to elevate marketing, we're trying to take everything up a notch and do it a higher way. And one thing I noticed when I was like working with my mom was also that like I feel like these are like really high-end people. Like they're used to like Four Seasons type experiences, or Amex Black Card type experiences. Like, and for some reason, real estate never really kind of grasped that. And I think sometimes, it's helped me in some of these markets because some of the brokers are like so behind trying to create that curated experience for them. Where like that's what we're like obsessing about to try to create that for them.
So the future 5-10 years for you and your team, what does that look like here in the Hamptons?
It's a great question. I mean, for me, like I know I'm on like a team where like, say it's like, and again, I always use sports analogies. I don't know if people follow them or not, but like I'm on one of those teams where it's like, LeBron James or, Kobe Bryant, one of these guys where they have like a star player on a team that has to score 52 points. Like we're in that season where I'm scoring 52 points. What I want to get into is to kind of develop some other players with me to kind of, continue to kind of grow in that aspect. And really, that's what I envision. I'd love to kind of get the Hamptons really locked down. I've always had a vision of growing more into the North Fork or maybe get into kind of multiple regions. But I know that I have to kind of really, continue to build my system here and get roots here. But our goal is $1 billion, like in deals a year. Okay. Like we want to be $1 billion real estate team, and it's a big lift.
That's
a
big
heavy
number.
lift, and this year we want to get to 300. We had a great first half, or 200. We're right there. I really think we can get there. If we hit that, we're getting there.
We're halfway there.
Third of the way there. So I think we can keep growing at these kind of paces and keep expanding our model. I think it's always up. But for us, I think we're kind of hitting a good stride for the type of buyer and clientele that are here.
Yeah. So create the Miami heat for real estate for yourself. Get to $1 billion, which you are going to get there and on your way. Yeah. Keep growing, and I know that your marketing is so cutting edge compared to a lot of other real estate companies, and we'll keep doing that. And then on top of that, we're with Compass, with a brokerage that supports that and is always growing along with us. Yeah. It's been absolutely a privilege and a pleasure to meet you, see this amazing house and this amazing location, and learn about the area and your team. And I just want to say thank you again for the amazing opportunity. Yeah. Absolutely. And everybody out there, thank you again for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Matt Breitenbach from the Breitenbach Advisory Team, Mike Ferraro, LA, leading lifestyle agent real estate group, and Compass Real Estate. Till next time, take care.